Many people are often kept back from building orbital rockets because they simply don't have the $60 million to build a new rocket each time they want to launch a payload into space. But what if you could reuse your rocket, meaning you don't have to build a new one each time? In this tutorial, I will teach you multiple techniques for recovering the lower stages of your rocket. Please remember to like and subscribe for more videos. I only have 31 subscribers, so it'd help out a lot if you did. Our first method of recovery is for lower stage boosters, and it is known as a propulsive landing. It involves slowing the vehicle down to a safe landing speed using your engines. The best example of this is the Falcon 9, a vehicle talked about a lot on this channel. The Falcon 9 lands itself, either on a pad back near the launch site or on one of SpaceX's barges. The Falcon 9's lower stage was designed with reusability in mind the whole way through. Let's first talk about the engines of the Falcon 9. The engines used are the Merlin 1D engines. Unlike many lower stage engines, the Merlin 1D engines can be restarted very easily, and they are also designed to have a very good minimum thrust. The Falcon 9 has 9 engines. All 9 are used for the ascent, but only 1 is used to land. The Falcon 9 also has a very specialized interstage. The interstage has hypersonic grid fins, which are deployed when re-entering to allow the vehicle to be controlled aerodynamically. The Falcon 9 also has reaction control thrusters powered by nitrogen, which allow for even more control. For your rocket, I recommend having a large cluster of engines with good throttle capacity, and also having deployable aerodynamic control surfaces and reaction control thrusters. Now, I will teach you how to land a rocket. This will be a tutorial for landing a Falcon 9, but it can also be applied to other rockets similar to the Falcon 9, with slight modifications for each one. We will be landing this Falcon 9 on a barge. First, fly your rocket like you would on any normal mission, however, shut your engines off early and save some extra fuel for the landing. Once you separate your stages, flip your booster over and perform a boost back burn. This should only be a few seconds. Then deploy your grid fins. At around 287 seconds after you separate your stages, start your entry burn. Light 3 engines at low throttle for around 20 seconds, and then shut them off. At around 77 seconds after you finish your entry burn, relight 1 Merlin 1D engine for your landing burn and throttle it all the way down. You should have successfully stuck the landing. Now, landing a rocket booster is complex and will take a few tries. Precise times when you will need to light your engines will differ depending on launch profile, wind, and other factors. I recommend studying SpaceX's landings to figure out how to do it, but ultimately, the best way to learn is through trial and error. Propulsive landings aren't the only way to land a booster. Parachutes can work well for smaller rockets. The Space Shuttle was actually able to recover its boosters by parachuting them down, or they would land in the ocean. Then, a boat would come and tow them back to shore for refurbishment. There are a few problems with this. Soaking your rocket engine in water is generally not great. The Space Shuttle boosters use solid propellant, meaning they were much simpler. This made refurbishment much easier, but reflying those boosters was a long and expensive process, which in the end didn't exactly save that much money. I will now explain to you how to recover your solid booster using parachutes. You will of course need parachutes, specifically pilot and drogue parachutes, which are designed for high airspeeds, and some large main parachutes for low speed deployment and high drag. You will also need some specialized ships that can tow the SRBs. You are probably also going to need an enhanced diver operated plug, or EDOP, which is the device inserted into the nozzle of the SRB that keeps them from sinking. When you run out of fuel for your SRBs, separate them and have them fall for around 150 seconds. When you hit around 160 meters per second, deploy your pilot chutes and drogue chutes. You will begin to lose speed very rapidly. When your speed is 110 meters per second, deploy your main parachutes and simply wait until the booster splashes down. Then drive your specialized recovery boat to the boosters. Connect the EDOP to the bottom of the rocket booster and start the air pump. This will fill the empty space in the booster with air and pump out the water to make sure the boosters stay afloat. Then connect the booster to the boat and tow it back to shore. Now, the previously mentioned method of recovering the booster via splashdown in tugboat is great, but all the water can again really mess with the engine, and refurbishment is made difficult. However, there's another way to recover the lower stage using parachutes without getting it wet, by catching the rocket booster with an aircraft. This method is soon going to be used by Rocket Lab to recover the first stage of their Electron rocket. The rocket will re-enter and deploy its parachutes, but unlike the Space Shuttle booster, it won't make a splashdown, but instead a helicopter will fly over to the rocket and use a hook to grab onto the parachute attached to the rocket. The helicopter will then set the booster down in a boat, which will then bring the booster back to land all nice and dry. The biggest disadvantage of this method is the fact that it can only be used for smaller rockets. There aren't many helicopters big enough which can carry large rocket boosters. This isn't a problem for Rocket Lab since the Electron is quite small. Now, I will go over how to recover a booster using this method. You will need a drogue parachute that can be deployed at supersonic speeds and a large main parachute that can slow your booster down to a reasonable speed. Any speed that is safe for a normal splashdown should work. A helicopter that can hook onto the parachute and can carry the dry mass of your booster, and some heat shielding panels. Mount the heat shielding panels in places where the engines aren't at. Rocket nozzles are already fairly heat resistant, so they should be fine. First, launch your booster the same way you would on any normal flight. When your lower stage runs out, separate it and orient your lower stage engines first. Continue falling until your booster reaches Mach 1.5. Then deploy your drogue parachute. The drogue parachute isn't big enough to slow you all the way down to a safe landing, but it will survive the high speeds. At around 5 kilometers above the surface, deploy your main parachute. Now, time for the trickiest part, the helicopter recovery. Fly the helicopter towards the booster with the hook just below the level where the parachute is. When you have the hook right below the parachute, stop the helicopter and let the booster get caught by the hook. Now, fly the booster back to land. This is just a general guide on how to reuse rockets. I didn't cover upper stage reusability, but if support for this video is high, I may do a video on spaceplanes. Comment down below any suggestions for videos. I do read the comments I get. Also, please remember to like and subscribe. Goodbye!